See, I've been waiting. Waiting on that time. Feel me if you've been waiting on yours. That moment, it's close. It's close. It's close.
Yeah.
Tired of living day to day like everything's
Woo! Welcome back, everybody, to the Fighters Block podcast. My name is Joe Gilpin, joined as always by my co-host, my main man, Mr. Jesse Rivas. How you doing this week, Jesse?
Doing fantastic, doing great.
Wonderful. In the booth, we have Mr. DJ Marcus.
Hey, everybody.
How you doing this week, Mr. DJ Marcus?
Doing pretty good.
Wonderful. Off mic, we do have one of the co-hosts of the .comedy podcast, Mr. Joey LaFaro. Joey, how you doing?
I mean, I can be on mic.
Oh, you are on mic. There you
wow.
go.
So I
Okay.
didn't see that coming at all.
So you're sitting in, but you're not like part of. You're doing your own thing. You're at the cool kid table, but you're like busy doing other stuff.
He's playing D&D at the
He's
cool
playing
kid
D.
table.
I'm on my World of Warcraft kick right now.
Meanwhile, we are being fucking super jocks over here, discussing MMA, boxing, any fight sport we can find here on the Fighters Block. I'm very excited for this week. How you doing this week, Jesse? This was not a bad fight week. There's plenty of stuff going on for us to discuss. Not a ton of like headlines, but still good stuff happening.
You know, it's funny. It's like we have a sports podcast, but we have zero to say about the Super Bowl. Did you watch
I
it?
have no idea. No, I didn't even watch it. We
like
are
the
technically, yeah.
It's the biggest sports news, and people expect me to go into it. They're like, you have a sports podcast. I'm like, dude, I haven't watched football since 2008.
I played football for 10 years. I have no fucking idea what's happening in the NFL.
And it's weird because people always want to look at you like, you don't watch football? You're a pussy. What do you watch?
You're un-American. That's what it is.
Yeah,
now.
they're
You're
like-
not even. Yeah, what? You don't love the troops? You're not gonna watch people beat the shit out of each other? You don't love the troops? I wish I could do that for MMA or boxing. I wish it'd be like, what? You didn't watch this Dorticos fight? Do you not love children?
Do you want to know the only thing you actually missed from the Super Bowl?
Please, because I didn't watch it.
Justin Timberlake?
So the Patriots
By the way, when are we gonna finally have the courage to admit Justin Timberlake is getting uglier? People don't want to admit it, but he is getting uglier.
I didn't look at him.
He's not getting uglier. He's just getting hobo-ier.
Yeah, there you go. What did we miss from the Super Bowl?
The only thing you missed was that the Patriots tried to do so. They have this thing called the Wildcat, where the quarterback goes out for passes, which is
Sounds like a
really
sexual position.
Yeah,
really bad. It's a really bad idea. So, but the Patriots did it with Tom Brady, which is hilarious because Tom Brady's like one of the least athletic players in the league. So they throw the pass to Tom Brady,
professional athlete Tom Brady,
and he like fails to catch the pass just from his sheer not being athletic. So to rub it in, the Eagles wait like a drive, and then they throw a pass to their quarterback, and he catches it for a touchdown.
There you
so
go.
it was it was a nice little. Yeah, and fuck you too, Tom, and fuck you too, Bill.
That is very funny. I like that. Something I want to point out, though, because people will love to, like, clown on people who, like, lost in the Super Bowl or whatever.
Uh-huh.
It's really hard to win the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? I remember this happened in, I was watching wrestling, like real, competitive wrestling.
Yeah.
And somebody, one of the backups on the world team for Team USA, he was like really getting after the starter, basically, the guy who took his spot,
Okay.
who at the World Championships lost in the World Semifinals. He was like, he didn't give enough. He should have won that match. He should have been in the World Finals. I would have been in the World Finals. This is bullshit. And like other Olympic champions started tweeting at him like, hey, man, it's really fucking hard to win in the World Semifinals. Cut him a break.
I mean, that's the elite of your sport.
So I get a little mad when people they clown on it. Like, okay, Tom Brady can't catch a pass. Tom Brady is not professionally a pass catcher. You know what I mean? He does other stuff.
Is that the professional saying for it? Is it pass catcher, Joey?
I believe it's pass catcher. I played 10 years. I don't know shit about fucking football. I sound like a very supportive girlfriend. I know as much as the most supportive girlfriend in the world about football. I want you guys to have a great time watching it. I don't care. I'm going to be talking to everybody in the kitchen around the dip. I made a wonderful dip for everyone.
He's not a professional pass catcher, but the funny thing is, like, Tom Brady I always talk about how he was a late round draft pick. And the reason he was a late round draft pick is because if you look at him, he doesn't look like a football player.
No, he doesn't.
He does not.
And so it was funny to see them that they tried it, but the funny thing was when you watched the play, you could tell he had no interest in that play. As soon as he didn't get the snap, he was just walking out there this is stupid.
Can I actually? I swear to God, I know this one thing about football, and I only know it because my little brother is actually like a sports journalist. He writes for Bullets Forever. He does a lot of stuff. And he told me this, and I have this stuck in my brain, and I just realized it. The reason that pass didn't work is because of the fullback that they gave it to, or whoever they gave it to. That pass is designed for someone known as Julian, help me out.
Edelman?
Yes, who was a quarterback in college, but now is not a quarterback. And that's who they originally designed that pass for.
Oh,
And he
tiny
could
white
deliver
guy.
that ball better than the guy they had in there because Edelman wasn't in. Is that correct?
Possibly, but
Yeah.
Brady still, like, it was off
it
his
still looked a hot
fingertips.
fucking mess.
It still looked a hot fucking
Yeah,
mess.
yeah.
Listen, I'm going to be honest. I don't give a fuck about football.
No, the
So
real
let's
reason
keep
the
moving.
Patriots lost is because they lost their black guy in the first
There
quarter.
you go. Oh, well, that's the
They
fucking
had one-
issue.
They had one black guy on their offense. He got hurt.
Well, there you go. I could have told you that. There should have been a penalty. Not enough black men on the field.
That's gonna be
They
in the next Super Bowl.
substituted. They put in too many white guys. Get him out of here. You guys, you get a couple of linemen, at least 2 black. Let's be honest. And then, what are these skill position white people? What are we doing?
You know
What are we
what's
doing?
interesting is usually the Super Bowl weekend is the
Big
SummerSlam
fight
for the
card.
UFC.
Where was our big Super Bowl fight card? It's not this week. It wasn't last week. It's not in the. I don't know where it is.
No,
I
well.
don't think we're getting it. I feel like we
You're
skipped
never
Christmas.
gonna get it again.
Yeah,
I feel like we skipped Christmas this year. This is bullshit.
but we did have fights this weekend.
We did have some fights this
and
weekend.
we did have Lyoto Machida versus Eric Anders.
Yes. Did you watch it? You
I
can be
read-
honest if you
I
didn't.
read about
'cause
it.
Nobody did.
Yes.
I watched it. I don't know why. Machida looked fine, but you can definitely tell if he's not washed already, he's pretty fucking close, right?
He did better than I expected.
He did a lot better than I expected. He was quicker than I expected.
Yes.
His quickness was back in a
He
big
was quicker
way.
than a hiccup.
Yeah, I'm going to be interested to see how this drug test comes back for him, by the way, if I can be 100% honest. Because he did look a little younger than he did in his last fight against Brunson, I believe it was. And he was able to pick up a 5-round decision, but he's now kind of going to be stuck in this, like, Rich Franklin 2010 limbo, where
And I think it
he's
hurt
good.
Anders because from all I've read, Anders should have won the fight.
He was very close to winning the fight. It was, I believe, a unanimous decision win for Machida. It might have been
Split.
a split. It was a split. It was close, but it wasn't a robbery by any means. It was just a very close fight. But unfortunately for Eric Anders, they put him in this spot to retire Machida, I think. I think they
Yes.
wanted to really, give Machida.
I saw his highlights. He looks devastating. He's a former football player, correct?
I think so. Yeah, that sounds right. And his power is great. His movement is
His
great.
athleticism is ridiculous.
Sure. The only thing that's missing is the accuracy. I don't
Yeah.
think he's accurate enough. And against a guy like Machida, that can end up being a really big issue. And he ended up missing a lot. He would throw nice combinations or he would throw big one shots, and they would never connect. He was only able to land on the little stuff. And I think over the course of the fight, that's what made the biggest difference is that Machida was landing and touching, and Eric Anders just really wasn't. And that ended up being the story of the fight, I thought, over the full course of the 25 minutes.
So where does Machida go from here?
I mean, he's stuck in this weird limbo, right? He needs this, like, weird Legends division. I want to see him fight, if we're going to have him in this Masters division kind of situation, let's put him in with a guy like Vitor, right? Vitor
Oh,
just
the
looks-
retirement. Yeah.
Yeah, right? Like, loser leaves town, Vitor versus Machida, 2 guys who've never fought each other. I don't think they're, like, close friends or anything.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but the Brazilians don't like to fight each other.
Not necessarily. They'd like to fight somebody else if they can.
Yeah.
But also, tough shit. It's kind of how I feel about it. You don't know him. He's not your brother. I'm not asking you to fight a teammate. You're not all teammates if you're from Brazil. You know what I mean?
Screw that. Brotherly fighting. That's the best.
It should be. I don't give a. I come from a place from, wrestling and jiu-jitsu. You fight teammates. Maybe not in jiu-jitsu as much, but wrestling, like, you'll wrestle a teammate any day of the week.
Oh, yeah.
You fight every day. You're not going to do it for money. This is insane.
Those are the WWE matches everyone waits for.
You should do that. That should be it. The mega powers need to collide. So I'm waiting for Machida versus Belfort. That's my.
That would be
wish.
huge in Brazil.
It would be enormous.
Number one, because they could take roids in Brazil.
Just tell them, like, yeah, we're just. It's almost literally like when a parent is like, listen, I'd rather you drink at home. Like, we're just gonna tell them, like, listen, we're gonna give you the steroids. We'd rather you get our stuff, and then just juice them to the gills. Give them one last fight.
And then you also got to remember how big Silva versus Belfort was in Brazil.
The biggest. It was the Super Bowl for Brazilian fighting. It was It was the entire country shut down for that fight. I'm not kidding. And it produced one of the greatest knockouts of all time. Let's not pretend we haven't had some great Brazilian on Brazilian fights.
It's funny because after that, Vitor was like, I'm only going to eat steroids now. I'm strictly on a steroid diet.
And he did.
No
and it went
carbs,
well.
no sugars, all steroids.
And that stopped right before he fought Chris Weidman for the title, unfortunately. So Machida is kind of stuck. I want to talk about this co-main event, though. Are we done on the main event?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're done
else
on the main event.
I think. Co-main event. my mainest man, referee Mario Yamasaki, is back in the headlines. He was in the headlines for the Kevin Lee Michael Chiesa fight. He's back in the headlines for what some are considering a late stoppage in this Valentina Shevchenko fight. Did you see this fight? Have you seen highlights? Anything?
I did not. I thought it was a pretty clear victory by Shevchenko.
It was a very clear victory against Shevchenko. It was, first of all, they shouldn't have been fighting each other because one is 6-0 and is coming off of a knee injury, and it's her debut fight in the UFC. The other girl just fought for the title and almost won the title off Amanda Nunes. Do you remember how close that fight was?
Yes.
Amanda Nunes versus Shevchenko.
That's on the promotion. It's like, you're a tune-up fight. I just want you
It's
to
literally
know,
just a tune-up fight.
you are here to lose.
It's like when they gave, do you remember they gave Gustafsson like 6 months ago, they gave him just like basically
Yeah.
nobody to be like, you still like fighting, right? Like you're still into this. We're going to give you a fight to make sure you still give a shit. It almost felt like that, but I didn't understand why they got matched together in the first place. And then the fight is a complete bloodbath, right? She just beats the fuck out of her. Here's the problem. When you're in the back and when you're being given referee's instructions and what says in the commission rules is somebody's getting the heck beat out of them as the referee, unless they're unconscious, you need to tell them you need to improve your position, right? You need to do something
Okay.
or I'm going to stop this fight. Every time he would do that, she would improve her position. Unfortunately, 10 seconds later, she'd be back in a really bad position.
Okay.
He'd tell her you need to do something now. She would do something. So it's not like she can improve her position, start doing a little better in the fight, and then you stop it. You know, that's not what you do. So a lot of people are throwing out this like, oh, she got outlanded, and this is true. 240-3 over the course of this fight before it eventually was a submission loss.
No, wow.
But she never went out. It was very bloody, which made it look a lot worse than it was. And except for maybe like a mounted crucifix position, it was really tough to find any one spot where she could stop the fight. You know, she was in mount for a second, but then Shevchenko would start to look for a submission instead of looking to just pound out the fight. And I think people are being a little too harsh. Obviously, I'm biased as fuck, but I think people are being too much about this late stoppage, early stoppage kind of thing. And
You
I think
know,
people need to
that
step
has a
back.
lot of parallels of what happened in the top ranked card with Gilberto Ramirez versus the kid from Ghana.
Exactly. Yes,
So
exactly.
They had this guy. All right, so because of political ties and stuff that's happening within the boxing world, people from Top Rank can't get the big fights. And he fought some guy who nobody had footage. Even like the biggest boxing nerd writers couldn't find any footage of this dude from Ghana. So they put him in there against Gilberto Ramirez, and he got completely destroyed. And people were wondering why the referee didn't stop it or why his corner didn't stop it. Like, protect your fighter.
Yeah, and actually, I got really mad at this. I can't even fuck her. I'm trying to look up her name. I'm trying to remember the name of the girl. She put out a really stupid statement, and I really don't like this statement. She said,
Girls shouldn't fight in the cage.
She said, "Girls should." She said, "We deserve to be in the kitchen barefoot and pregnant." No, what she said was,
That's true.
only obviously, right? That's the point of this podcast. If there's one message anyone should take from today,
Women don't fight.
women should not be obviously.
I thought it was that
kidding.
they're not allowed to have slippers.
There you go. Only if the man says. This is gonna get played at like a Senate hearing of mine one day, by the way. So.
Little
Yeah,
bit.
she put out a thing like about basically why her corner didn't stop it. Because the corner could have stopped it. You know what I mean? And not enough corners stop fights, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think a good corner knows when to stop a fight. She said, only me and my people know what my limit is, and we would never throw in the towel. I was like, okay, then you don't know what your limit is.
Yeah.
What, would they be chopping off your head and your corner's still there, towel in hand, like, I don't know. I don't know yet.
She's got
They're-
one tendon left in
They're
that
only
neck.
halfway through the neck. I feel like she's still got a chance on this. Like, no, if you're in a position where you can no longer win the fight's done. I don't care if the referee has stopped it yet. And I just there's so much about this bad stoppage, quote unquote bad stoppage. I don't think it's necessarily a bad stoppage. If I was a fighter, that's exactly how I would like a referee to act.
Okay.
Honestly, if you tell me to improve my position or you're going to stop the fight, I can't improve my position and then you also stop the fight. It doesn't
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
It doesn't work.
You follow the instructions of the referee.
Exactly. Do you have anything else about this UFC card?
No, but
Can we get to the best fight of the weekend?
Okay, let's go. Let's just jump on that. The best fight of the weekend came for the World Boxing Super Series. It was the semifinals of the Cruiserweight tournament, the $50 million tournament, the biggest tournament with all the best. Is going to crown a unified champion, the first unified champion in the last 15 years. Of
There's
course,
only been for this division.
Yeah,
let's
this
say,
division.
There's only ever been 3 unified champions, guys, in boxing.
Okay.
One was last year with Terrence Crawford, and then it was Bernard Hopkins, and then it was Jermaine Taylor. Right? That's it. I believe.
In the last 15, yeah.
In the last 15. It's in the 4-belt system that we have now, where there's 4 major belts.
Okay.
Only 3 people have ever unified, and one of those won it off one of the other ones. So it's not like this is very common. You know what I mean? It's basically Bernard Hopkins and Terrence Crawford went out and did it themselves.
Won all the belts.
Won them all. Okay.
So of course, this is going to be shown everywhere, right? This is going to be a big
$50
deal.
million tournament.
Everywhere but the United States.
We can't see it.
We're the only people who cannot see this fight. That kind of lets you know where boxing is now. Like, the power is not in America like it used to be.
It's global. We worldwide, baby.
Yeah.
But I'm into that. It kind of felt, and I know you're going to get this, it felt like a G1 climax. You know
Yes,
what
it
I mean?
did.
It really did. For any professional wrestling fans out there, yeah, there's the WWE, and there used to be WCW and ECW, but right now the cool organization is out in Japan, New Japan Pro Wrestling, and every summer they run this tournament where basically you have a match every day, and at the end it's like a point system, and there's a winner, and he gets a big title shot in the future.
Okay.
And you have to every morning you wake up at 7 a.m. or whatever, and there's just 10 new matches for you to watch every day. And this is what that felt like. You have to go find some shitty, grainy stream. Your computer is just getting mad viruses. You know what I mean? Your computer is getting Cancun spring break level viruses, and you just have to live with it because the fighting is so good. And that's what we had this weekend for an amazing fight. I thought it was really good.
It was a phenomenal fight, and we're 100% wrong with how this fight was going to play out.
I know, but I love it.
Do you think we underestimated Gassiev, or do you think that we overestimated Dorticos?
I think I underestimated Gassiev because I was still impressed with Dorticos.
Yeah, I thought he
throughout
looked
this fight.
phenomenal.
He did not look bad. In fact, he impressed me more than I thought he was going to with his chin. That guy can take a fucking punch because we know Gassiev can bang. This guy has sledgehammers in both hands.
If this is for the cruiserweight unification, I think this one fight was for the bruiserweight title because both these guys have insane knockout power.
I think they're still combined. They've knocked out everyone but one opponent, including in this fight, and he took bombs all day. I would have stopped this fight before I stopped the Shevchenko fight, by the way.
Yeah.
But it was still an amazing fight. I thought that Gassiev impressed me with his boxing IQ. I think this is the first time he's really had to show off adjustments. I think both guys were really giving each other a lot of different looks throughout the fight and really trying to land in new ways as the fight went on instead of just relying on basic, 1-1-2, 1-1 kind of shit. And
you know what? Gassiev showed me a lot of Triple G in him.
Yeah, right? I can see that.
I can see how they train together. They're both trained by Abel Sanchez. Abel Sanchez trying to make as many Russian Mexicans as he can. And he looked great punching over the guard and giving great pressure. And I mean, I love how definite his victory was.
I know.
3 knockdowns on the 12th round and knocking him out of the ropes in the final knockdown.
I love it. It was a fantastic fight, and it has me so excited for this final. It's Usyk versus Gassiev in the finals. Finals of this big $50 million tournament. Somebody's going to walk away with the I think it's starting to be called the Kremlin Cup, and I'm very into that because it's Russian on Russian at the very end of the day.
Oh,
and I'm
okay.
super into that.
Well, one guy is Croatian. Not Croatian. My bad. He's Ukrainian. There you go.
Yeah, there he is. Close enough.
But
Isn't it great
Gassiev,
how that's technically racist?
Yeah. Gassiev, I'm surprised how famous Gassiev is in
They
Russia.
should fight for Crimea. Right? You remember Russia annexed Crimea a couple of years ago? And we still haven't really done anything about it. And actually, just to speak politically for a second, Congress, when that, I think it was last year, Congress passed all these sanctions. Okay, for annexing Crimea, here's all the stuff we're gonna do to, punish Russia for that. And Trump was literally just like, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do anything bad to them. And it's super fucked up. Anyway, probably editing this out too. So I'm super excited for this. Should they have the finals in Russia?
They're having it in Jeddah.
Oh yeah, true. They've already said it.
Yeah.
I'm so fucking excited. Why won't somebody pick it up?
Because they called the hype up to this fight Road to Jeddah.
Yeah. I forgot.
Man, so you know what kind of bugged me this weekend is the fact that Top Rank.
Real quick, first blush, Usyk versus Gassiev.
Ooh.
One sentence, 10 seconds. Go.
You got to go with the technical mastery of Usyk.
Usyk, right? It's got to be Usyk is the favorite, but Gassiev is such a live underdog.
You know what I feel like we have, and it's not exact, but it's the way that I think of it in my head. We have a giant Lomachenko versus a giant Triple G in the same weight class.
I can see that. Yeah. I'm into that. And that's fantastic. That's like, you
Yeah.
know, if you're fucking around on like some 2K game and you just start fucking with people's stats or something, you know.
Yeah, you're like, what if they were the same weight class? What would happen? That's basically what we got going on here.
How many people do you think we would have to get to say they would buy it before they would make an EA boxing game? 1 million?
Yeah.
1 million? If we got 1 million people to say I would buy this game, they would make an EA boxing game,
Because
right?
they haven't made one in a long,
time.
Oh,
Not
you
a
mean
long
Fight
time.
Night?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was Fight Night, and even that was kind of bullshit. If we're being honest, they could do.
It was great.
They could do better.
So
They could do better.
one thing that really bugged me about this weekend is the fact that Top Rank is in an island. Okay, recently Jerwin and Cajas signed to Top Rank, which was bittersweet because Cajas wasn't getting the big fights. He wasn't getting a lot of attention put on him, but he's one of the best super flyweights in the world in a time period where the super flyweight division is being highlighted a lot on HBO and Showtime. It's a big thing.
As hot as it's been in years.
Yes.
Long time.
I mean, you got Chocolatito, you got
Sarong
Sisuke Sarongvisai, you got El Gallo Estrada, you got Mick Williams Arroyo. You got so many guys that are starting to like really come into the forefront, but Cajas was kind of left out, and then he signed with Top Rank, and now he's getting a lot of attention, but because of political ties, he's not getting any of these big fights.
He's not going to get any of the big fights. Nobody, and I don't see him getting big fights moving forward, not in the foreseeable future. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? None of these guys are running to sign with Top Rank. None of these guys are in a contractual situation where that's about to happen. So he is going to get to be Goldberg and WCW. You know,
Yeah.
the big star that they just feed everybody to.
Yeah.
And he's going to get to live that life. And some guys do that, and some guys have great careers with that. Ask Adonis Stevenson how he's doing. You know, you don't always have to fight big names to be a big name. But it is unfortunate. And it will hinder his career long term, I think.
Yeah, I mean, he's in his prime right now. He's 26. Same thing with Gilberto Ramirez. Gilberto Ramirez is one of the best super middleweights on the planet, but there's no chance of him being able to fight George Groves or James DeGale or Darrell or Usatagi or even David Benavidez. How dope would it be to see him
That'd
fight
be
David
awesome.
Benavidez?
I just want to see
that's a
David
dream fight.
Benavidez move up in level. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just want to see where David Benavidez actually is. That's such a young, good kid.
I mean, I think for what promoters need to do is try to do what PBC did with the welterweight division, the super middleweight division. The junior middleweight division, where you just sign as many people as you can in the top 10, and then just
figure it
match them
out.
up. Yeah, just match them up
Throw
against
them all
each other.
together. One's going to come out.
But having these one-off people, I think it's an old school.
It doesn't work, right?
Yeah, it doesn't work anymore.
It doesn't work. You may as well focus on a weight class rather than one name, because we've seen that you do need a more of a B side these days than you used to.
Yeah.
You know, we used to be an A side game, where as long as you had this guy on the marquee, people were going to show up and watch. That's not really the case anymore. You know what I mean? People want to see big matchups, especially in boxing.
And I mean, you got Terrence Crawford at welterweight.
Yeah.
We can't foresee him being able to get the
I
big
just
fights
swooned.
for another year.
I
Yeah.
swooned at that, by the way.
So that was my little rant about this weekend. But we do have fights going forward this week. We don't have a lot.
We may, by the way, release this episode a little early. Just a warning to everybody in the room, because you know, we're recording this earlier in the week than we're used to. Usually we record it and then put it out pretty much right away. But this week we're recording a little earlier in the week, and time moves at quintuple the pace that it used to. So I'm not like, the stock market is crashing right now, and I don't know what's. Do you remember 6 years ago in 2017 when we had 20? Do you guys remember how long ago 2017 was?
Yeah.
It
feels
was.
that
Do you
way.
remember a decade ago when it was last month? That's how I feel. So we may end up releasing this a little early. You were saying we do have fights this week.
We do have fights this
We have
week.
some sneaky good fights
Yeah.
this week, I think. There's a couple I'm really excited about. Do you want to do MMA or do you want to do boxing?
Let's just real quick touch on the boxing, just because it's not an important fight, but it's an important fighter who's saying goodbye to the sport.
Hank Lundy, yo! Very underrated Hank Lundy.
Roy
He
Jones
is fighting
Jr.
this week, by the way.
He is.
Yeah, I think so. Somewhere.
Roy Jones Jr. is retiring from boxing.
Roy Jones Jr.'s
Now?
no. I hate to correct you, but Roy Jones Jr. officially has said this will be his last boxing fight in America. Yeah, he's
What
gonna
a
head,
plot twist.
he's gonna head over to Russia and get in like 6 more fights, just steroided to his fucking gills.
Wow.
I can't wait. But yes, Roy Jones Jr. will have the last fight that anybody is able to see, because the
Okay.
next bunch are going to be in some like underground fight club.
And it will be on UFC Fight Pass.
It will be, of course, this big giant boxer is retiring. Where is he going to be? UFC Fight Pass. Have they ever had a boxing event before? Never even once.
It's
Never
like the
even once.
Expendables of boxing.
It literally is.
Yes.
This is a Legends fight. Roy Jones Jr., who I believe we last saw getting literally punched out of the ring. That was fun.
It hurts to see me he gets knocked out now by legends in other countries who never got famous in America
Yeah.
in like some bar in Ireland.
Everybody is just having their, other countries are just having their Rocky moment off of him. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Because he's still, quote unquote, Roy Jones Jr., but he's not Roy Jones Jr. anymore. So all these guys are just getting the name Roy Jones Jr. on their resumes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like when people that started to happen to Tyson. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Where at the last couple fights in his career, suddenly everybody's like, I'll fight Tyson. You know what I mean? I'll fight Mike Tyson right now. All right, anytime. Let's do that right now. I'll make a ton of money. He's on coke, so he's not going to win. It'll be great. And I feel
I'm
like
sure
people
that's
are
what
doing
Pam Anderson is in Hollywood right now.
Yeah, literally, right? Yeah, I fucked Pam Anderson. So Roy Jones Jr. is going to fight. Who's his opponent? Nobody gives a shit. Do you think he is going to
Win?
win?
We don't know anymore because he gets
Yeah,
knocked
right?
out.
It's impossible to say.
It basically is like if Roy Jones does this thing, he'll win. But if you touch him on the chin once, he may fall and go to sleep. And
No, okay.
I think
We have to
they
wake him up the next day.
must have. I see no way in which they did not go out and find the most bust-assed, washed, off-the-couch fighter for Roy Jones Jr. to fight. Not only for his last American fight, but for the first boxing fight on Fight Pass.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And this could be a significant moment in time because this could be where we look at it and we say this is the UFC's first real dipping of their toe into boxing in this way.
Yes.
More so than McGregor Mayweather, where they just, sent one of their fighters to go do something. That doesn't matter as much. This is the UFC putting on a boxing event. And this could end up being really significant if they try to do this Zuffa boxing thing, even though Dana White built the UFC by saying boxing is dead. Suddenly it's not so dead anymore. Isn't that weird? As soon as he can make money off of it, wow, there's some life to this. Weird.
Lives again.
He's not talking as much shit these days. I don't know who he's going to work with because he has shit-talked everyone in boxing, and they have long memories.
Just because
Does any sport hold a grudge better than boxing? No. It's the best.
Just because Roy Jones was so significant, he was the pound-for-pound king in the '90s, and I mean most people have considered him retired for the past 14 years because he hasn't been relevant. But he was a significant fighter. What is your favorite? What is your I guess most significant Roy Jones Jr. memory?
When he got punched out of the ring. You could never hope to fight like Roy Jones Jr.
He was so athletic. He played what was it? What are the feeder leagues to the NBA? What are those called?
Like Summer League or whatever.
Yeah, he played in one of those feeder leagues where
G
if
League?
those B leagues. So
I believe Joey said the Jew League. Is that what you said?
It's called the G League now because Gatorade.
I swear, I thought you said the
it
Jew
was
League.
the D League.
all right, the best
I
way.
swear I thought we asked what is the bad basketball league, and somebody immediately popped in Jews.
No, that's not.
All right, the best way I could describe it is he played in the
That would be the
NXT
blue
of
league.
basketball.
Yeah. In
played-
the NCAA version.
Yeah, like the
Yeah.
feeder league, and he played a game there, and then at night he fought a pay-per-view boxing fight and won both.
And was tired and said, I shouldn't have done that. They asked him after the fight, they were like, how did that affect you? He was like, a lot. Turns out a whole bunch really affected me. Yeah, he was always this weird just cheat code of it doesn't matter what happens, it's Roy Jones Jr. You know
You
what I
remember
mean?
when he knocked the guy out because he put his hands behind his back? And the guy was like, all right, I'm going to go hit you. And then he knocked him out with one punch.
He would do shit that you would tell people you did but never did. You know what I mean? Like, I saw this guy do this one time, but it's just total bullshit. And then he would just in the middle of a fight be like, by the way, I just dropped a new rap single.
Oh, do you remember when
Do I remember the song Can't Be Touched? Is it still on my workout mix? You're fucking right, it is.
This whole album was on my computer.
I was going to
Yeah,
say,
right.
y'all must have forgot.
Also a good one.
Do you remember when he fought James Toney and he knocked James Toney down and they're like, where did you learn that move? And he was like, I was seeing chickens fight. So I just did what they did. Because he used to raise chickens. He comes from a chicken farm.
Yeah.
That's where the famous Talib Kweli line goes. They call your mama Roy Jones because she raised chickens.
Jesus.
Is that really a famous line, though?
famous enough?
As
It's good
famous-
enough.
As
Good
famous
enough.
as Talib Kweli, if you know Talib Kweli, you know that verse.
Yes.
You know that line.
Do you remember when he was in the Olympics before I was born? Do you remember that? Do you remember how he was a high-level combat sport athlete before I had been on this planet? And he's been that long. He's been going for like 30 years.
He was one of the most famous Olympic robberies.
Oh, yeah.
Because even the guy who won the medal was like, I totally didn't win this.
It's like him and Mayweather are
Yeah.
like the two biggest I can think of.
yeah.
Ah.
And of course, his decline, like it was almost out of a movie. The night where Roy Jones ended, because he was at the height of his career. He had just won the heavyweight title. He'd moved from middleweight all the way to heavyweight and had won titles. He was undisputed.
Only fighter to ever go from light heavyweight to heavyweight and win titles in both,
Yeah.
by the way.
Really?
I believe so.
And so there he was, and he got called out.
Probably. Is
he
that
got-
so? I bet.
And he got called out by his old amateur rival, Antonio Tarver. Antonio Tarver, who was his rival, but did not have the success because he got addicted to cocaine. And then he had to like clean himself up,
Pussy.
went into the Olympics at 27
Then he
years
almost
old,
got knocked
and
out by
turned
Rocky.
pro very old. So he calls him out, and he says, they call you you say you're the best fighter in the world. You're not even the best fighter in Florida. One of the best lines ever. They get in a great fight, and then in the rematch, after a very competitive fight, when the referee says, "Do you guys have any questions?" which they ask at the beginning of every fight, Antonio Tarver grabs the mic and says, "Yeah, do you have any excuses tonight, Roy?"
It was so gangster. The most gangster.
After the first round, his buddy McGurk, Antonio Tarver's trainer, looks at him. He's like, "You're showing him too much respect." He freaks out on him. He's like, "Don't use that word in my corner. You don't use the word respect. We don't respect anyone in this corner." And then he goes out and proceeds and knocks Roy Jones out immediately after in one of the greatest, like, fall from graces of all time. And Roy Jones doesn't get up. It goes from, like, wow, what an upset to, like, is he dead?
Just now.
He hit him with a Hadouken. Jesus.
I don't remember Antonio Tarver being that good, but he seemed to
No,
end
he
careers.
was. No, Antonio Tarver was that fucking guy for a minute.
Yeah.
He really was. Because then he beat Jones in the rematch too.
Yeah.
Well,
They
he beat-
rematched again and he won again.
Yeah.
He also didn't he? He's the one who sent Jermaine Taylor's career cascading downward.
That sounds right.
No. That wasn't him. That was him at all.
I like Joe. Joe goes, yeah, that sounds about right.
Probably.
Could have happened.
He fell from grace and he lost to Bernard Hopkins.
Oh, you're right.
I think-
No, he beat Bernard Hopkins.
Now Bernard Hopkins, he pulled a huge upset. Like everyone thought he was old and too small, and he completely schooled Tarver. And then Tarver like was never mentally the same.
I love that
Oh,
Joey
Tarver.
right now is arguing from a place. Jesse is arguing from a place of having watched these fights, having lived this, having a lot of experience with this. And Joey's on Wikipedia, and they're going to argue all day.
I'm not even looking at that. I was talking about Jermaine Taylor. Like
Oh,
he beat Bernard Hopkins, but I think he was looking like he was going to be something, and then I think Tarver beat him too.
No, it's Kelly Pavlik.
Jesus.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it's Kelly
Then
Pavlik.
all the names stop making sense, Joey.
You see, when you throw Russian in there, it just ruins everything.
This is fighters. Block.
Yes, that Russian Kelly. Roy Jones Jr. last fight. People, I think should check it out. If you have Fight Pass, I know I'm gonna watch it. Are you gonna watch it, Jesse? Or are you gonna?
I'll catch the highlights.
You'll catch the highlights.
catch
There
the
you go.
highlights.
There you go. I just hope he literally. I hope he fights this entire fight with his one hand tied behind his back.
He's
do
done that
something,
before.
right? Let's do something. Let's go for it.
Do you remember when he got disqualified by when he fought Montel Griffin? So he fought him in a rematch and knocked him down with the first punch of the fight, and sent Montel Griffin literally like staggering, like it was Mike Tyson's punch out from one corner to the other corner.
I understand that he did it. I don't understand how he did it to this day.
It seems fake.
It's a cheat code, right? It's very good booking.
Yeah.
Whoever is booking this is doing a great job. Whoever is putting together these fights and like scripting them is doing a wonderful job, and they really got Roy
And
over.
then he rapped about it.
Yeah, it's the best.
He got disqualified in March '97 after giving a whipping to Montel Griffin. A late hit, his title. They had to take it. Next, something one punch, and he sat down. I can't remember the whole verse, but
You don't have
he
to
rapped
commit-
about it.
you don't have
he
to
made a
commit
rap
to all
song.
of it.
He made a rap song about it, and it was great.
Okay. Do we have any other boxing for this week?
No boxing, but we do have mixed martial art
We have some
action.
MMA. We have some
Yes.
UFC action. I'm actually pretty excited about this fight. This is Yoel Romero taking on Luke Rockhold for an interim middleweight championship.
And there's nothing that makes us happier than interim belts.
We have, I believe now, a vacant regular championship and 2 interim belts, if I'm right, because
You get a belt, and you get a belt, and you get a belt.
Man, I don't know why this fight needs a belt. What happened to guys used to fight for number 1 contenderships? You know
Do
what
you
I
know
mean?
what? This shows the main difference between WCW and WWE back in the day. When you were a kid, there was a way that you knew one company was successful and the other one wasn't. When you bought a WWE action figure, nobody had belts unless it was Hulk Hogan.
Yep.
Because he was a champion. When you bought a WCW action figure, everyone had a belt. The WCW belt literally came with every action figure that you bought.
Man, just like in
anybody,
real life.
Because anybody could be champion.
Do you remember it was like 99 or 2000? Just like they changed up the writing staff for WCW, and the new guys came in. They were just like, all the champions are gone now. We fired all of the champions, and we need to find new champions for everything. Women's champ, tag champ, heavyweight, intercontinental. Everybody needs a new champion. I remember watching that. Like, this is a good company. This is a healthy business plan that they're putting together, and I'm okay with that.
It was weird because like they relaunched everything with people had new characters.
Yeah. Oh my god.
It was so weird.
And they kept trying to like make new versions of people. You know what I mean? Like Billy Kidman is the new Hulk Hogan, and Vampiro is the new Sting. Are you seeing the trouble with this plan, by the way? Are you seeing the flaw in their methodology? But we do have a very exciting fight. Yoel Romero, former Olympic medalist, wrestler.
I'm sorry, just because you mentioned Billy Kidman, do you think that messed with his mind, the fact that, like, the big story about Billy Kidman was, you're so talented, you could be world champion, you could be the next Shawn Michaels, but you're being held down. Then they gave him the opportunity.
And continued to hold him down.
Yeah. And he was like, oh, no, I could never be this good. Like,
yeah.
I could just do a shooting star press and fuck Torrie Wilson. But
yeah.
Which, listen.
When you can,
he's doing just fine. Billy Kidman. Do you remember he used to like? It got to a point where in like 1999 he was like one of the most aerial athletic guys in the world, but the sport was evolving really fast. Sport, quote unquote.
Yeah.
So by like 2004 he was like mid-level. You know what I mean? Like people started doing it. Like he would do a shooting star press from the top rope, and he needed all of that, and he would still barely hit it. And then by like 2004, 2005, here comes all these new guys who are doing like standing 630s and like all this shit he could never hope to do. And they used to make stories out of it. By the end of his career, they were like, Billy's real mad that other people are better at what he does. Like, I was like, then get rid of him. What the fuck are you doing? But anyway, former Olympic wrestler in this, Yoel Romero, who has devastating striking. He's the top 3, top 4 middleweight in the world. He's shown a little bit of problem with distance over time, especially when people have a very effective jab. Luke Rockhold is one of those complete package guys. He's one of the best guys. He's one of the best submission fighters in the division, one of the most athletic guys in the division. He is one of the better strikers in the division, mixes his kicks and his punches very, very well. Former UFC middleweight champion. This is a big, big fight. I think, unfortunately, the interim belt makes it less important. Does that make sense?
Yeah, if it was
it
number
makes
one
it feel like
contendership.
bullshit, right? It
Yeah.
makes it feel like a bullshit fight in
Well,
some
the
way.
the reason that I have a beef with the UFC interim belts is the fact that it doesn't guarantee you a shot at the champion.
Yeah, what the fuck is that? It's not even a number one contender. It literally just call it the Intercontinental Championship. You know what I mean? If that's what we're gonna do, okay, that's no problem. But call it something else.
It kind of reminds me, like in boxing, they have the WBA. They have the Super World Champion, and then they have the regular World Champion.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my god.
And they both defend around the same time, and they never actually fight each other.
It's literally what we've gotten on boxing before about people ducking mandatories.
Yeah.
And people, running from close fights. I don't get what this is now. We made this sport new basically so we could get away from a lot of the politics and bullshit of boxing.
And the crazy thing is, with boxing, is because of different promoters.
Yeah, here it's just one guy. You have everybody under contract. Can you imagine if suddenly Top Rank had every boxer, or at least everybody in the top 20? Can you imagine the fights we'd be getting? We're not getting that in the UFC. I feel like we're getting bullshit every day.
If there's one thing I will say is that's what I miss about Don King.
Ooh.
Don King would lock down a division.
Let's tread lightly. let's tread lightly. Let's be real careful when we're praising Don King.
Everybody loves Don King.
Sure, especially the families of the people he murdered. Can't get enough of that Don King,
True
baby.
enough.
I remember when he stomped my uncle to death. Oh, Don King. What's not to love?
To be honest, that guy was a shitty son. Like his mom was like
Okay,
he always woke up late. He didn't show up to school on time. He skipped school. It's a shitty son.
Are you his lawyer? This sounds like the worst press conference I've ever heard in my life. I swear to God, Don King almost came out like for that, like we're gonna settle this in the ring. Like he almost tried to turn to a boxing angle. I can make money off this. Just watch. I stomp somebody to death. I'm gonna make money off it. I'm gonna turn it into something.
You know, he still got the speaking skills. When Stavern was going to fight Wilder, he actually had me believing that, you know, Stavern had to win for the will of the people, and starving children would die if he didn't win the world title.
That's old school nostalgia. That's just nostalgia fucking with you. You know, that's like when you like see a photo of like somebody you used to beat off to, and you're like, all right, they still got it. But like objectively, they do not. But like you still see. Like part of what like attracted you in the
bits
first
and
place.
pieces of
Yeah,
what
exactly.
Yeah,
You know what
yeah,
I mean?
I do that when I see Mika Tan now. Mika
exactly,
Tan, my
right?
favorite porn
Yeah.
star. She's now a really fat woman, but I would see who she was in 2002, so I'm still like, all right, it's Mika.
There was not to get this completely off the rails, but I'm about to. I remember one of my first like porn stars that I was like, oh, this is one that I recognize, so I'm gonna look it up. I was like, you know, basically a little fucking kid. Looking back, her name was, I believe, Carmela Bing. Do you guys remember?
Yeah.
She got so fucking fat, and she kept doing porno while she was fat. So part of me, like early on, was just like, oh, this is just what happens to porn stars. They just get like
fat.
they just gain like 300 pounds in like 6 months, and just that's their life now.
Do you remember the website 40 Inch Plus?
Yes.
Yeah, so basically, when you know you have a big booty as a female is when your hip
Marcus was like, yes, of course I know it.
is your hips a 40 inch. Like
Marcus lifts up his polo. He's got a T-shirt of 40 inch plus. Do I know it?
so it trips me out whenever like a girl starts feeling real subconscious about like her weight. I always like measure her hips and I'm like, you're not even at 40 inches. Like that's where big butts start. 40
is this
inches.
an actual story? Have you actually measured someone's hips?
No.
Because that would be very uncomfortable.
He likes Asian
Here.
women. If an
Yeah,
Asian
I know,
woman
by
is
the
40
way,
inches wide,
I was gonna say.
that Asian woman looks like Jabba the Hutt if she's 40 inches wide.
No, it's either 20 or 80,
Yeah, pretty-
and nowhere in the middle.
To be fair, Mika Tan was
They've
on
never
40
been
inch plus.
21. They go immediately.
If she's at 40, then she's round.
It's like, have you ever seen a snowball roll down a hill and it just gets enormous immediately from picking up all that other snow? It's like that, but with asses.
It's like that smiling bubble that appears next to an anime character when they're sad.
Literally.
Nobody watches more anime than Joey LaFaro. Have you noticed that? He always has a good reference for
He does
anime.
have a nice anime reference every so often.
Every once in a while, I'll be like, actually, this reminds me of Sailor Moon. I think I mentioned it on this podcast.
That sounds like a prayer, like a Thanksgiving. Like, as we eat today and we think of the Lord, it reminds me of Sailor Moon.
Let us consider Sailor Moon. That's going to be like weird furry dads like in like 10 years, you know what I mean? Like people now are like furries. Like eventually they're going to have families. Like how are they going to like transition off of this?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think you have to detox off that shit like drugs. I'm not
You
kidding.
do.
I think you need like locked in a room.
You need to stay completely away from it. That's how you get off of porn. You just stay away
You
from
just
it.
completely stay
Yeah,
away
you,
from
get-
it.
you watch the news.
Isn't it great how I have no idea?
Or you just-
How do you get off porn? How is this?
Or you just have a shed
There's
in
a
the
way
backyard.
off.
Or you just have a
I'm
shed in the
always off
backyard
when
that
I watch
says,
porn.
"Daddies keep out."
It would
my
literally take like I don't know what it would take for me to stop watching pornography.
What,
It
for
would-
good or for,
For
like,
good, forever.
Oh, wow,
You know
yeah,
what I
no,
mean? Like
I
I
can't
don't
do
know.
it.
It
I
would
don't know what
literally
it'd take
take me like clicking onto a video and being like, "Is that my own daughter?" You know what I mean? Like it would take something like that serious for me to be like, "Hey, wait a minute, I recognize that voice."
That looks
For
like
me to,
Becky Gilpin.
Yeah, right. Like, listen, just because she's a white girl doesn't mean she's named Becky. Isn't it great? Like 2017, for all of its problems, or I think it might have been 2016, did give us a racist white term for white women, and I love that. Like one we all know and recognize.
yeah.
It's like, oh, she's a Becky. She just sits around saying Becky stuff. Like, no, you know who's really bad and bougie? The American troops.
Wow.
So Rockhold versus Romero, like we were talking about. Oh man, I gotta find that into a bit somehow.
That's the greatest. That's
Man,
fantastic.
you know it's gonna be bullshit. I'm gonna forget about that until I listen to it on the podcast. Joe, I know you're re-listening to the podcast because you're very vain. Make sure you write down that joke and use it on stage because it's okay. It's at least pretty good. So Rockhold versus Romero. I think the jab of Rockhold is going to be a big deciding factor in this fight. Jab, inside low kick, outside low kick. I would be very surprised to see Rockhold push the issue. You know what I mean? And the problem is Romero's not really going to push it too. He's not an aggressive fighter in that way. Romero's a little bit better when he's countering, but unfortunately I think Rockhold is smart, patient, and athletic enough where it's going to be really hard to counter him all night.
Marcus, have you seen Yoel Romero?
No, I have not.
Please, Yoel.
Look at his
Romero.
highlights. If you
Don't look at his highlights. Look at him and just like bask in how
no,
like
because you have to see how he moves. How he moves is impressive. If every man on the planet had a choice, you had a choice to pick which body you wanted attached to your head and how you would want to move and what kind of dimensions you'd want. You'd want to be Yoel Romero. You'd be like, let me pick that character, put my face on his body, and live that life.
every white supremacist thinks they look like Yoel Romero.
That's how I look. That's how I look when I take my shirt off.
Yeah, right. That's exactly it.
He's 40, by the way.
He is.
That's what 40 looks like.
He is 40-year-old Cuban man who is not above accepting money to drop a fight. Maybe not a fight, but he did used to do it in wrestling. That did used to be a
Really?
thing for him in wrestling. He did, and there is talk that he may have. There may have been some money exchanged before his Olympic loss to American great Cale Sanderson.
Really?
Because he used to really put it on Cale. He was undefeated against him moving into the Olympic semifinals. Suddenly, he's not really moving his feet. He's not really moving his hands. He's not really doing anything. He's not attacking, and Cale picks up a very close win. So you be the judge.
He's like, listen, man, I'm hungry. I'm starving.
No, it happens all the time for Cuban
Diapers
fighters.
cost money.
Did he shit his pants during a match?
Yes.
Yes.
It like it says, Yalo Romero poop, and I'm
Yeah.
like, what the hell is this?
That'd be it. He did. It was at least some real brown sweat. Do black people sweat brown?
No, we do
Then
not.
he did shit his pants. Then he did shit his pants. I can confirm. I didn't want to be culturally insensitive and assume anything, but now I know he did shit his pants.
And Joey,
Do you think he
who's
shits
your,
his
who's your
pants this
celebrity crush?
Huh?
Who's your celebrity crush? Isn't it Demi Lovato?
No.
Debbie, I call her.
Debbie Lovato?
No, it's
Debbie
not.
Debbie
LaFaro.
LaFaro.
It's Normani
Debbie
Corday.
LaFaro. Who
Yeah.
is it?
Well, Luke Rockhold fucked her.
Normani Corday.
Luke Rockhold used to date her. So-
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu blue belt Demi Lovato. She's all about that Jiu-Jitsu
Yes.
life now. Yeah, he was hooking up with her. That's part of the fun part about the
He hooked up with
WME deal. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? It's
Demi
like,
Lovato.
Yes.
yeah, he was dating her.
So did Fez from 70 Show. What's your point?
Fez fucked everybody.
Yeah, listen.
Have you look at celebrity list of people he slept with? Everyone you wanted to sleep with, he's already done it.
Listen, do not attack Wilder Valderrama, who is Jesse Rivas' spirit animal.
Clearly.
Do not attack him. He
I mean-
has built his life around that man.
I'm not. I'm just making a point.
How do you see this fight going this weekend?
This weekend, I want Yoel to win. I always want Yoel to win.
Why?
Because he's basically Wolverine. He's like that superhero. He does the knockouts and the finishes that you want to see. He's the more entertaining
He's
fighter.
almost like Roy Jones in that way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where every time you see Roy Jones fight, you don't know what's going to happen. You know it's going to be completely unfeasible. it's not going to be replaceable.
Can you Google
replicable.
Ungun? Ungun?
Ongun.
Can you spell
So
it?
basically,
Yeah,
yes.
can you spell it?
So basically, this is like the
Yes, I can. He continues talking about something else. Like we were just trying to make sure he knew for his own self. You know, I can spell it. But anyway, what I was saying.
do Cuba O U G.
You don't know how to spell it.
It's an African Cuban word.
O-U.
Basically,
Why did you tell us
the
you knew how
hell
to
is
spell
an
it? Just say,
African
no, I
Cuban
don't know
word?
how to spell it.
G-U-N.
O-U-G.
What the hell's an African Cuban word?
This show is going to be so heavily posted.
So the reason I bring this up is because there's like this mythological creature, or like this mythological like half man, half god. He's basically like Cuban Hercules. And if you Google him and you see the
I
statues,
believe Cuban Hercules is the name of a porn star. Continue.
if you Google him, he basically is Yoel Romero. So Yoel Romero basically looks like this like statue of like their like Hercules of that island.
Sure, I get that.
And he's like this badass slave who like
They
broke-
have a black Hercules statue, like how I go into like some of my friends' homes. They have like a black Jesus painting. You know what I mean? Like Ben Carson has one of those where it's like, look, a painting of Jesus with a giant afro.
It sounds like they took like Spartacus and the Chupacabra and smashed them together.
That's racist.
But long story short, long story short, I think I like seeing the idea of Yoel Romero kicking ass and doing all these crazy ass moves and just being a beast.
Luke Rockhold does some crazy shit though.
Yeah, but
Let's not pretend.
he looks better on the cover of a magazine.
Luke Rockhold looks like white Yoel Romero. These are two of the top 5 bodies in the UFC. These are some handsome men.
No,
Let's be honest.
Luke Rockhold,
we're gonna watch handsome dudes beat the shit out
Luke
of each other.
Rockhold looks like someone a girl wants to fuck, right? But Yoel Romero.
Be very careful with how you continue this sentence.
But Yoel Romero
looks like a guy I'd fuck. And that's where he's going with that.
That's what he's gonna say. I don't want to hear it. He looks like a guy that guys want to fuck. What? First of all, he shits his pants, so I'm not going back there. Before we go any further, that's not even the biggest problem, but it is a big problem.
It's a big one.
Wait,
Yoel Romero looks like
I'm
someone
not fucking a guy
who
with
would
an
sell
inconsistent
video
asshole.
games. Who, if you put on the cover of a video game, you would buy that video game.
Why did you start that with something about women fucking?
Thank you.
That had nothing to do with the second half of the sentence. What is that? When you consider weather patterns, I think I'm going to buy a burrito today. What the fuck? You can just launch into the second half of whatever you were saying.
I don't know what the hell just happened.
Jesse Rivas, the Fighters Block podcast. Oh, my goodness.
Boy.
And that's why Trump won for the presidency.
That is how Trump talks, by the way, is like when you consider the troops, when you think about money, when you think about America, that is why Hillary has to go to jail. You know what I mean? Like he just connects all these ideas that have nothing to do with
So
each
who
other.
wins the main event?
I think Luke Rockhold.
You think Rockhold?
I think Rockhold picks his way to his
I
decision.
think so too, unfortunately, but I'm rooting for Yoel.
I'm going to be interested to see how Rockhold attacks the body. I think a lot of smart body work. Oh, that's something I wanted to bring up. I was very impressed with Gassiev's body work.
Yes.
So I think his body work is going to be big in this fight, especially his front teep kicks. I think can pay a lot of dividends down the road. He might be afraid to be taken down. Romero doesn't really catch people's kicks that way. He tends to bring it up like a Thai style defense, where he brings the elbow and the knee together to create a shield. He does that a lot more than he'll try to catch a kick and take somebody down. So I don't think I don't think Rockhold should be too worried about the threat of fighting off of his back. And if he does end up on his back, he's a really fucking good jiu-jitsu fighter. He'll be all right. So that's how I see that fight going on. Do we have any other fights to break down?
I don't think we have any other fights.
Okay, just the fight of the proletariat against the bourgeoisie as we take back the country during this stock market crash. Am I right? I can't wait for the economy to collapse again. I'm rioting. I'm looting. I don't care.
Because let me ask you
You
this,
heard it here
though.
now. This is what I've been preparing for with jiu-jitsu.
I mean, Philly already started.
Philly
so.
started, and we're just going to run right through it.
It's gonna emanate out of Philadelphia.
Yeah.
This is why you
Listen,
shouldn't
that's
let
where
them win the
America
Super Bowl.
started the first time. That's
where
where
it
the
ends.
rebirth is. Thematically, it makes sense.
Philly, act like you've been there.
Right. What are we doing? So, do we have anything else for this week, Jesse Rivas?
No, nothing else.
Let the people know how to get a hold of you.
Follow me on Twitter and Instagram, Jay Rivas Comedy,
There you
and Jay Rivas on Facebook.
There you go. For yourselves, Comedy Podcast, please put yourselves over.
Doc Comedy Podcast 100th episode just posted this week.
Two-parter.
Well, not two-parter. It's the video is a two-parter. The actual episode is just 2 hours.
Yeah,
All
thank
right,
you,
there
Eddie
you go.
Lyles.
Yeah, we sat here for 5 hours on that podcast.
No fucking shit. Just listening to Eddie talk, because Eddie can talk.
Eddie can
No,
talk.
no. What happened was I didn't know this, but if you're in a Facebook Live from a computer and someone gives you a messenger call, it stops your live
Stops
feed.
your live feed.
Oh, no shit.
So it shut
Who
down the
calls
whole
on
show.
Messenger? That's
Eddie
a
Lyles.
Of course he does. God damn it, Eddie Lyles. God damn it. My twin brother, Eddie Lyles.
You guys do look a lot alike.
I know, right? We get confused a lot. Eddie's a 6'8" black man. I should mention for the people who are on the audio portion of this podcast who don't personally know our very talented comedian friends. For myself, follow me on Twitter, Bad Tweetus, Instagram, Joseph M. Gilpin. For all of us here, please subscribe to the show. We really appreciate it. If you rate the show, we love you guys. We have people all the time finding the podcast for the first time. Thank you very much. We're going to be back here next week on the block with all the fight goodness. For myself, for Jesse, for everybody that's in the booth, we appreciate it. We'll see all you guys soon.